to that end, the issue of winter track was different than the others, primarily for one reason, and that is that it doesn't start at the beginning of the year. And that does afford us some time to gauge student interest, to communicate with the parents, and put the right process in place in order to have it funded, if that's what the parents choose to do, by the time the winter track season started. Winter track was unique in that regard. So we decided to pursue winter track exclusively to say this is going to be our pilot program this year. I have been contacted by a number of winter track parents since June. And I reached out to some of them, and we had a focus group, which is the primary purpose of that was for me to listen to what has made that program successful in the past, what are the important elements of it, what are some of the challenges that we may face, and I see a lot of those people here tonight. And it was an excellent conversation. People had really good things to say. One of the elements of this pay to participate for winter track that I'd like to recommend is that we discussed the natural connection between winter and spring track. And there was varying opinions on how much they were connected, and different opinions on a lot of different issues. But what we'd like to do is consider winter track and spring track simply two components of a track and field program. And then we can look at the coaching staff that we do have available in our budget. It's all under spring track currently. It's 3 boys coaches, 3 girls coaches per school. So 6 coaches per school for spring track is currently budgeted. And look at them, look at what student interest is for winter track, for spring track, and consider redeploying those coaches where the student interest warrants it. The coaching stipends are the lion's share of the cost of the program. The remaining cost is roughly $4,500 per school. And that can be accomplished through a fee that will, depending on how many students sign up, anywhere from $150 per student to $175 or maybe even $200 if we have very low enrollment in some school. So that's how we would like to proceed with that, to look at the winter track and spring track together as a track and field program, work with the building administration specifically, individually, to determine what's the best way to gauge what the interest is going to be in their particular school. Redeploy the coaches to the point where it makes sense. One of the concerns that we had, and it's a valid concern, is that what this may end up doing is eliminating track for the lower tier track athletes, because with less coaches, you have to be careful that your ratio is right and that you can not only properly supervise but also properly run your program. And we don't want to put the coaches in a position where they just don't have what you need in the program. So with all of those types of things in mind, that's how we'd like to proceed with winter track. And as I said earlier, the peripheral costs for those ongoing programs, we think we can facilitate that pretty comfortably as well. Simultaneously, I'd like to call back the group that had assembled just before the budget was defeated. Actually, it was the day before. It was the one and only meeting on pay to participate. And I touched base with some of the principals, but I want to get that underway as soon as possible, because as we move into budget decision season, somewhere in January forward, I want the board to have that data available to them as they consider what decisions they're going to make with the 11-12 budget. So I know I said a lot, and it's a lot to maybe digest. If I could just entertain any questions or clarifications from the board at this point. Mr. Moses.
In some of the schools where some of the kids are economically disadvantaged, what is going to happen there?
Great question. There's free and reduced lunch thresholds currently in place. It's a federal guideline for poverty. It's a completely confidential process, and like I said, it's already in place for our lunch programs. We would use that to afford the same benefit to those families as they get for their lunch program.
Mr. Boyce, you have a timeline in place because winter track practice begins the day after Thanksgiving, the first week's the weekend, normally on December 16th, 17th?
Yeah, it would be ASAP. I mean, this is something that we'd look to get in place immediately. And you know, the group that I met with included board members. There were 2 board members. Well, actually, no, you were there. And SECAs and some coaches and some good parents that had good experiences. And I think if we're all on the same page, I think we can get it done in that timeline.
Thank you.
Mr. Plesto.
So for band trips and things like that, you're going to let the parents help fundraise?
Yes, Dr. Kegler, that was your
right.
Is that right? That's the peripheral cost of ongoing.
And then the other calls that I got and emails and stops and Dunkin' Donuts are related to cheerleading. What were the considerations and obstacles as it related to JV cheerleading? I guess, isn't that what it was, JV cheerleading?
Yeah, JV.
I know when someone got me, I dropped my coffee right on my...
Yeah, there are 36 full programs eliminated. That's 6 per school. And in addition to winter track, this is, and then 5 others to be determined, as I said, by building principal. So, you know, understanding the full scope of can we do it well as of the start of school for 36 different programs. And going back to one of the things that was very important to us is we only want to do as much as we can, but only what we can do well. We were not confident that, or uncomfortable that we could deliver the level of service that would be expected.
Given the fact that that is a multi-season activity, is there any option for exploring some kind of resolution for the winter season for that activity, since you have time, as an interim measure?
Dr. Kegler?
I mean, we could certainly look into that.
Yeah. Cheerleading you're talking about, right?
JV cheerleading.
Well, they couldn't put all the pieces together for the fall.
Right.
But I do know they have activities during the winter. And it seems to be that there might be, since it's kind of at that level, club level, that there might be things that can be explored to maybe accommodate some issues if we had some time to deal with it.
I think your point is well taken, and I think we'll pursue it with the administrative team.
Sean?
Yes.
If a family has 2 kids that both run track, we expect them to pay $300?
Yeah, you know, these are some of the things that I think we're going to have more time and opportunity when we design this broad program for the board to consider for future years. At this point, without spending a whole lot of time on what the fee structure would be, I guess it depends on the student interests. Right now, no, we haven't had any consideration, but if the board would like us to factor that in, I mean, that might tick up the cost for the rest. It would depend on how many siblings we have involved. So, but the pot of money, the final pot of money, as I said, is relatively small once you remove the coaching stipends from consideration.